National Sustainable Development to be the focus of 2021 budget. Details to this and other stories in the National Report. With the details to the news for Friday, 25th September 2020, I'm Delroy Lauzan. Grenada's National Sustainable Development Plan 2020 to 2035 will be the anchor for the country's 2021 budget, which will be presented later this year. Prime Minister and Minister for Finance Dr. the Right Honourable Keith Mitchell disclosed this on Wednesday when he addressed participants in a national consultation to garner public input for the 2021 budget. This year's budget presentation will focus on the theme towards Vision 2035, Recovery, Transformation and Resilience. Dr. Mitchell said the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic will also influence government's interventions going into 2021. As such, 3 strategic areas of focus have been identified: a robust and inclusive recovery, economic transformation, and resilience. Prior to the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting economic fallout, Grenada was on track to record another year of significant economic growth. The Prime Minister said government needs to focus on getting the economy growing again and creating employment opportunities.
We need to look at the policies, projects, and programs with the greatest potential in this period that will drive the recovery forward. This will also cut across several areas, including agriculture, construction, manufacturing, tourism, education services, and ICT. We also need to look at the opportunities that have been created by the crisis and ensure that we seize those opportunities to boost the recovery. Government must deploy all of its policy tools to help support a strong recovery. This would likely include some new borrowings and aggressive external resource mobilization.
With regard to economic transformation, Dr. Mitchell said recovery must be robust and inclusive, with a focus on securing high human and social development.
We must continue to work on transforming our economy and in securing a high human and social development. We must continue to invest towards achieving a healthy population and a well-educated citizenry, taking into account the new realities ushered in by COVID-19. We must continue to work also towards empowering our poor and vulnerable, as well as disadvantaged groups in our society. And investing, of course, in our young people, protecting our children, and empowering our women are also of very critical importance.
Resilience has become a key development watchword, and the Prime Minister restated government's commitment to building resilience to achieve environmental sustainability and security. Continuing the news, this year's CSEC results revealed several successes. Grenada's performance was better than the regional performance in all the pure sciences. One student received acceptable grades 1 to 3 in 18 subjects, with 16 grade 1s, a first for Grenada, while 17 schools had overall pass rates of 80% or more, a significant improvement to 8 schools in 2019. Preliminary results of the May-June 2020 Caribbean Examinations Council Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate Examination (CSEC) were received on September 22, 2020 in Grenada. During a virtual press conference on Friday, Registrar of the Caribbean Examinations Council Dr. Wayne Wesley said overall there has been a slight increase in the performance of students when compared with previous years. The distribution of the level of acceptable grades, Dr. Wesley says, remains at the close margin across the period 2017 to 2020.
Note that this year the performance is 93.25%, which is much higher, or which is higher than the previous 3 years in terms of the number of individuals receiving acceptable grades. In respect of CSEC, The same result obtained where when you look at 2020, 79.57% of those sitting the exams would have received acceptable grades, an increase over 2019, 2018, and 2017. So overall, the region would have registered an improved performance at 93 and 79% respectively for CAPE and CSEC.
He said the onset of COVID-19 resulted in the move to apply a modified approach to the examination process, which included the moderation of SBAs and multiple choice papers.
CXC has always used the principle of moderation. Prior to 2020, moderation would have been done based on random sampling of about 30%. Utilizing the modified approach this year, it was agreed that 100% center moderation would take place for all subjects. That meant all SBAs were moderated. Kindly note that teacher score is not the final score, and the final score is obtained after the moderation process is completed.
Minister for Education, Human Resource Development, Religious Affairs and Information, Honorable Emlyn Pear, and the team at the ministry have congratulated all successful CSEC candidates. Minister Pear said she is grateful to God and all stakeholders for the outstanding performance of students in this year's examinations, especially given the situation with the COVID-19 pandemic. The ministry says it will host a press conference next week to discuss this year's results. You're watching the National Report. The news will continue in just a moment. Do stay with us.
Hi, welcome. The Grenada Tourism Authority would like to inform you about the tourism industry reopening protocols for the accommodation sector. This includes hotels, guest houses, apartments, villas, and cottages. All accommodation must adhere to the following general measures once reopened. We encourage a designation of a staff member to oversee health and safety practices and its implementation on every shift. Staff must be continuously educated about these protocols and should receive training in these areas. Personal protective equipment, or PPE, should be used, and hand sanitizing stations should be erected throughout the property. Greetings and guest interaction should be friendly but avoid physical contact. Social distancing measures should be put in place in common areas, and extra care is needed to keep all touchpoints clean and sanitized. Properties must also implement a visitor tracing system. We urge you to visit puregrenada.com to download the complete guide of all of these protocols, and includes a handy checklist for you to make sure that all measures are in place. Thank you so much for your kind cooperation as we prepare to welcome back our guests.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Health has recorded an increase in the number of dengue cases in the last week, 52% being males. The Epidemiology Department is trying to determine the serotypes of dengue causing the outbreak. The virus is spread by the bite of Aedes aegypti mosquitoes, and the symptoms include fever, headaches, muscle, joint, and abdominal pains. Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sean Charles says they are concerned about the increase in the cases.
At present, we are experiencing a large spike in dengue cases. All right? We are presently experiencing a dengue outbreak, similar to what is occurring in other islands or sister islands. All right? Other islands such as St. Vincent, St. Lucia. All right? We are experiencing a spike in cases. At around this time of the year, we generally expect maybe less than 10 cases per week, because dengue is endemic here, meaning that you get a few cases every now and then, maybe 1 or 2 or 3, all right? But around this time, the long-term average is maybe around 7, all right? And as of last week, we recorded 29 cases.
Dr. Charles advises that there are methods to reduce the mosquito population and the spread of dengue.
Since there is no specific treatment for dengue, the most appropriate intervention is prevention. All right? So prevention is key. And there is one common point that must be remembered. If there is no mosquito, there is no dengue. All right? If there are no mosquitoes around you, if there are no mosquitoes to bite you, you will not get dengue. All efforts should be taken to get rid of the mosquito, all right, to ensure that the mosquito population is as minimal as possible or non-existent, all right, if at all possible. That involves a neighborhood effort, all right. It involves not just one family cleaning their surroundings. It involves you and your neighbor.
And finally in the news, Parliamentary Representative for St. George South East, Honorable Gregory Bowen, received a signature mug from teacher in charge of the Laborie Pre-Primary School, Desiree Peterkin, on Wednesday. According to the teacher, the goodwill gesture was to publicly recognize Honorable Bowen's continued support of the school. Minister Bowen's latest contribution to the institution was a shelf to be used in the art corner.
Mr. Bowen has always been a support to us whenever we need any assistance. He is always there willing to help us. And he always comes to the school and visits the children and makes sure that everything is going well with them. With that kind of support, our nation's children will go a long way. And today we'd like to say thank you to Mr. Bowen for his continuous support to the school and the development of the nation's children. We have had some challenges in terms of changing our classroom to fit the COVID-19 protocols, and we were left without some areas, some vital areas, and we needed to have our art area and house area. And immediately upon calling Mr. Bowen, he agreed to donate to us this shelf, which will be used for our art and house area. The children will really appreciate it.
The Honorable Bowen says the support given to the institution comes from a good place, and he is extremely delighted that the contributions that he has been making in his constituency have not gone unnoticed.
The words you have spoken really do go a long way. As a matter of fact, when you serve in public life, the best that you can get is a thank you from the persons, because you're serving from the heart. You want no material thing in return. It's just the appreciation and love and understanding that you have gone the extra mile to give for the children. And I want to say I will continue to do this in every school in my constituency and from the national level, from the ministry level, with respect to repairs and other system. I do take this, my task, very seriously. So thank you very much for your appreciation and for your gesture. And you can express to the other teachers, to the parents, the little children may hardly understand that I do value this gesture that you have just made.
That story concludes the National Report for Friday, 25th September 2020. But before we leave, let's recap the headline. National Sustainable Development to be the focus of 2021 budget. That's all from us here at the newsroom. On behalf of all who made this newscast possible, I'm Delroy Louison, thanking you for joining us.